There are cities that are centers of commerce, and cities that are centers of power. And then, there are cities that possess a soul. They are more than just a collection of streets and buildings. They are living repositories of human memory, where the echoes of history are not confined to museums but whisper from every stone and alleyway. When Napoleon Bonaparte declared, "If the world were a single country, Istanbul would be its capital," he wasn't merely speaking of strategic importance. He was acknowledging a place where the very currents of civilization converge. This is a city that doesn't just sit on a map. It exists at the intersection of continents, a bridge not only between Europe and Asia, but between ages, faiths, and empires. Our journey begins here, seeking to understand the profound, layered identity of a city that was, and in many ways still is, the capital of the world. To grasp Istanbul is to look at a geological cross-section of history itself. It is a palimpsest, a manuscript on which successive civilizations have written their stories, one over the other, never fully erasing what came before. For over 16 centuries, this singular patch of land served as the heart of three monumental empires. First, as Constantinople, it was the New Rome, the dazzling eastern capital of an empire that defined the Western world, its foundations built on order, law, and ambition. How does a city carry the weight of one world, let alone three? It adapts. The Roman eagle gave way to the Byzantine Christ Pantocrator. As the capital of Byzantium, it became a beacon of Orthodox faith, a fortress of Christendom whose shimmering mosaics and theological debates shaped the spiritual consciousness of half the globe. The air here was thick with incense and intrigue. Then, the conquest of 1453 brought the crescent moon. As the seat of the Ottoman sultans, the city transformed once again, becoming the administrative brain and cultural heart of an Islamic empire that stretched from Vienna to the Persian Gulf. Each layer is still here. You can trace the ghost of the Roman hippodrome in the shape of Sultanate Square. You can stand beneath the dome of Hagia Sophia and feel the presence of both Byzantine emperors and Ottoman sultans. And you can get lost in the Grand Bazaar, a vibrant labyrinth of commerce that feels as alive today as it did 500 years ago. This isn't just history to be read, it is an atmosphere to be inhaled. Now, imagine standing on the shores of the Bosphorus as the sun begins to set. To your left, the silhouettes of minarets and ancient domes crown the hills of Europe. To your right, the sprawling, modern neighborhoods of Asia glow with the lights of evening. The water before you is not merely water, it is a liquid frontier, a shimmering, restless boundary between two worlds. Ferries, like faithful shuttles, weave between the continents, carrying people from one reality to another in a matter of minutes. The call to prayer might begin on one side, only to be answered by a muezzin on the other, the sacred sound waves meeting and mingling over the water. For a moment, you are suspended between everything, between past and future, faith and secularism, tranquility and turmoil. This single, breathtaking panorama is not just a view, it is the entire thesis of Istanbul, distilled into one powerful, emotional experience. It is the physical manifestation of a city forever defined by its magnificent, and sometimes turbulent, dialogue between East and West. This, then, is the essence of Istanbul's historical identity, not a monolith, but a mosaic. Its soul is not found in one empire or one continent, but in the constant, dynamic interplay between them all. The city's true character is revealed in the friction and the fusion that arise from being the world's most vital crossroads. But to truly understand this city, we must look beyond its magnificent past, beyond its historical soul. We must feel its modern pulse, the very body and arteries of this living giant. If history gives Istanbul its soul, then its modern infrastructure gives it a body, a sprawling, breathing, and perpetually moving organism. To shift one's gaze from the ancient skyline to the streets below is to witness a different kind of energy. This is the kinetic reality of 15 million people, a human density that suggests a concrete behemoth, a landscape of endless gray. Yet, the first surprise Istanbul offers the modern observer is not one of overwhelming congestion, but of space and air. How can a city of this magnitude breathe? The answer is written in its parks, its wide boulevards, and the countless trees that stand as silent green sentinels along its avenues. This isn't an accident of geography, it's a testament to a conscious, or perhaps intuitive, understanding that for a city to live, it must also have lungs. This commitment to green space creates an urban environment that feels unexpectedly European, more aligned with the cultivated parks of London or Paris than the stereotype of a Middle Eastern megacity. This body is animated by a circulatory system of immense scale and complexity. Its gateway to the world is a heart valve of staggering proportions, Istanbul Airport, a colossal hub that channels the flow of global travel, welcoming more than 65 million passengers a year. It is a city within a city, a modern marvel of logistics and engineering that proclaims Istanbul's status as a global nexus. From this heart, the arteries spread out, a rapidly expanding metro system burrows beneath millennia of history, a sleek, subterranean network carrying the city's lifeblood. On the surface, a relentless fleet of buses and shared taxis navigate the urban tapestry. It is a system built for movement, for efficiency, for the daily rhythm of a population constantly in transit. But to see this network as merely a mechanical function is to miss its most poetic and uniquely Istanbulian expression. The true pulse of the city is not found on rails of steel or roads of asphalt, but on the liquid boulevards of the Bosphorus. Let us zoom in on this experience, for it reveals more about the city's character than any statistic. Board a public ferry, the vapor. It is more than a commute. It is a daily ritual of release. As the vessel pulls away from the dock, the city's roar softens to a hum. The air changes, carrying the clean, briny scent of the sea. People do not remain buried in their phones or books. Instead, their faces turn upward and outward. They watch the timeless drama of gulls tracing arcs against the sky. And then comes the gesture, the offering of a piece of simit, the iconic sesame-crusted bread ring. A small piece is torn off and tossed into the air, an invitation that is almost instantly accepted. It is a simple, beautiful transaction between man and nature, a moment of connection in the midst of urban anonymity. What is the purpose of this ritual? It is a moment to breathe. It is a way to measure the day not in minutes, but in the distance between continents. It is a collective, unspoken acknowledgement that even in this massive, driving city, there is time for grace. The body of Istanbul, then, is a study in paradox. It is a giant, yet it cultivates intimacy. Its infrastructure is relentlessly modern, yet its most beloved form of transport is as old as the city's relationship with the sea. This physical form, this intricate network of green lungs, steel arteries and water-bound soul, is what allows 15 million individual lives to function as one cohesive, dynamic entity. But this magnificent body, this network of steel, water, and green space, is merely the vessel. To truly know Istanbul, we must now venture into its complex, and often contradictory, soul. The soul of Istanbul is not a single, coherent spirit. It is a dialogue, a perpetual negotiation between two powerful identities that reside within the same urban heart. To walk its streets is to experience a kind of cultural schizophrenia, where the city seems to live as both Paris and Cairo, often in the very same moment. This duality isn't a flaw, it is the city's most defining and fascinating feature. It is a living paradox, a place that has mastered the art of holding opposing truths in a delicate, beautiful balance. One identity is a vibrant, westward-looking current of secular liberalism, a legacy of the modern Turkish Republic. It is a force that champions progress, individuality, and a connection to the global stage. This is the Istanbul of bustling avenues and glittering art galleries. In districts like Beyoğlu and Karaköy, the evening comes alive with the hum of conversation spilling from crowded bars and the rhythm of music pulsing from chic nightclubs. Here, men and women mingle freely, their fashion indistinguishable from that of any European capital. The conversation is about politics, football, and the latest trends. Dating is a normal part of life, an expression of personal freedom. What does this reveal about the city? It shows a deep-seated desire to be modern, to participate in the global conversation, and to embrace a lifestyle that values personal choice. It is the face Istanbul presents to the future. Yet listen closely. Woven into this fabric of modern life is another sound, a deeper and more ancient frequency. It is the city's resonant, spiritual heartbeat, the ezan, the call to prayer. 5 times a day, this hauntingly beautiful chant cascades from the minarets, a timeless summons that momentarily stills the city's hustle. It is the voice of the other, Istanbul. This is the soul that looks eastward, rooted in centuries of faith, tradition, and communal identity. It's the Istanbul of historic mosques, where the air is thick with reverence, of quiet courtyards where life moves at a more contemplative pace. This is where tradition is not a relic of the past, but a living part of the present. It shapes family values, social expectations, and a profound respect for heritage. How do these two worlds, so seemingly at odds, coexist? They do not simply exist side by side, they intertwine. A centuries-old mosque stands proudly across from a minimalist coffee shop. A woman in a stylish Western outfit might walk alongside another wearing a traditional headscarf. They are not citizens of two different cities. They are neighbors, colleagues, and friends in the one, multifaceted Istanbul. This constant interplay is the source of the city's unique dynamism and its creative tension. To truly understand this intersection, consider the life of a modern Turkish woman. She may be a highly educated professional, navigating the competitive landscape of a global career, her ambition and independence a testament to the nation's secular ideals. She participates in a social life that is, in many ways, liberated. Yet, she simultaneously navigates a complex web of family honor and cultural expectations that are deeply rooted in tradition. Her freedom is real, but it is a negotiated freedom, a careful balancing act between personal aspiration and collective identity. This is not a contradiction to be resolved, but a reality to be lived. It is within this personal, daily negotiation that the grand dialogue between East and West becomes a human story. This intricate dance between the secular and the sacred, the modern and the traditional, is what gives Istanbul its inexhaustible fascination. It is a city that refuses to be simplified, a place that has learned to be comfortable in its own complex skin. But this beautiful, layered soul, forged over centuries of coexistence, is not an impervious fortress. It is a living entity, and like any living thing, it is vulnerable to the immense pressures of the contemporary world. For beneath this captivating cultural surface, fractures are beginning to appear, forced by the harsh realities of a new and challenging era. Beneath the city's captivating cultural dance, a deep and troubling tremor can be felt. This is the reality of modern Istanbul, where the grand narratives of history and identity collide with the brutal, unforgiving pressures of the 21st century. These are not abstract challenges. They are daily burdens carried on the shoulders of its citizens, a weight that strains the city's legendary resilience. The most relentless of these is an economic crisis that has become a constant, suffocating presence. It is a story told not in headlines, but in the anxious lines on a shopkeeper's face and the quiet calculations made at the dinner table. What does it mean to live in a city where inflation can surge past 100% in a single year? It means the value of a lifetime of hard work can evaporate like morning mist. It is a silent erosion of certainty. The salary earned at the beginning of the month is worth significantly less by the end of it. This isn't just an inconvenience. It is a fundamental disruption of the social contract, creating a pervasive sense of stress and precarity. Consider the simple dream of owning a car. In Turkey, the cost of a new vehicle is often double that of its European counterpart, swollen by taxes that equal the car's base price. For most, it remains an unattainable luxury. This economic strain forces difficult choices. A university graduate earning the minimum wage, around $570 a month, looks at an apartment in a desirable neighborhood where the rent alone can exceed $700. The math simply doesn't work. This disparity between income and cost of living is not just a statistic. It is a wall that stands between a generation and its aspirations, fueling a quiet desperation that permeates the city's atmosphere. This economic struggle is a heavy burden, but it is not the only one Istanbul carries. The city has always been a sanctuary, a place of refuge. Its history is one of absorbing new populations. But today, this ancient tradition of hospitality is being tested to its absolute limit. Istanbul is on the front lines of the global refugee crisis, sheltering a population of immigrants and asylum seekers that has swelled beyond its capacity. How does a city grappling with its own economic turmoil absorb hundreds of thousands of new arrivals? The answer is with immense difficulty. The strain is visible everywhere. It is in the competition for low-wage jobs, where desperate newcomers are often willing to work for less, creating friction with the local workforce. It is in the pressure on public services, from schools to healthcare to the city's already precious water supply. This has given rise to a painful and complex social dynamic. The warm, famous Turkish hospitality, so generously extended to tourists, can turn into suspicion and resentment when directed at refugees. To understand this, step into the shoes of a small business owner in a working-class district. For years, he has paid his taxes and struggled to keep his shop afloat. He now sees newcomers around him receiving state support while simultaneously competing for his customers. In his eyes, he is watching the unraveling of his community's social and economic fabric. His frustration is not born of pure malice, but of a feeling of being overwhelmed, of seeing his own stability threatened. His is a voice of discontent, a sentiment echoed across the city, revealing the deep social fissures created when profound economic anxiety meets an unprecedented humanitarian crisis. The Istanbul that has for centuries been a melting pot now fears it is reaching its boiling point. And so, the giant stumbles. The city that has shouldered the weight of empires now groans under the burden of modern crises. The economic and social strains are not just background noise. They are active forces reshaping the city's character, testing its famous tolerance and challenging its very identity. The beautiful, complex soul of Istanbul is being put to the test. The question that hangs in the air, as poignant as the call to prayer, is whether the city's spirit of resilience, forged in the fires of history, is strong enough to endure the trials of today. In the face of these immense, grinding pressures, it would be easy to conclude that Istanbul's golden age is behind it, that its spirit is finally beginning to fracture. But to do so would be to underestimate the city's most profound and enduring quality, its indomitable spirit. This is not a spirit of naive optimism, but one of hardened resilience, a characteristic forged not in spite of its challenges, but because of them. This resilience is the city's true bedrock, an invisible force that underpins its entire existence. Where does this strength come from? It flows from a deep, almost cellular connection to the nation's core values, a powerful combination of industriousness, patriotism, and an unwavering respect for its own story. This spirit is most visible in the quiet dignity of daily life. It is the shopkeeper who, despite dwindling profits and soaring costs, rises before dawn to meticulously arrange his wares, his persistence a small act of defiance against economic chaos. It is the hard-working nature of a people who have built lives and businesses from the ground up, their patience in life a stark contrast to their impatience in traffic. This spirit is also fueled by a fierce, protective patriotism. To understand modern Turkey, one must understand the reverence held for its founding father, Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. His image is not merely a political symbol. It is a ubiquitous reminder of the secular, modern republic he forged from the ashes of an empire. This respect is so deeply ingrained that insulting his legacy is not just a social taboo but a crime. Why is this so crucial? Because this veneration for Atatürk represents a commitment to a foundational idea, the idea of a strong, independent, and forward-looking nation. It is an anchor in turbulent times. This indomitable spirit finds its ultimate expression not only in the people, but in the immortal treasures they safeguard. After exploring the city's complexities and struggles, we must return to its heart, to the grand square of Sultanahmet. Here, two of history's most magnificent structures face each other in an eternal, silent conversation. On one side, the Blue Mosque, with its 6 soaring minarets and cascade of domes, stands as a breathtaking testament to Ottoman genius and Islamic faith. On the other, the sublime, world-altering form of Hagia Sophia. To stand beneath its colossal dome is to feel the full weight of human history. A place that has been the epicenter of 2 great religions. A church that became a mosque, then a museum, and now a mosque once more. It is a building that has absorbed the prayers, ambitions, and awe of humanity for 1,500 years. The square between them is more than a tourist destination. It is the sacred core of the nation's identity, impeccably maintained, a declaration to the world of the treasures they hold. This is paired with the legacy of Ottoman cuisine, the rich flavors of kebabs and baklava, the communal joy of a weekend breakfast spread, a culinary heritage so profound, it sustains the soul just as it nourishes the body. So, what is the final word on Istanbul? It is a city that defies any single definition. It is a place of sublime beauty and immense struggle, of profound faith and vibrant secularism, of ancient history and urgent modernity. It is not perfect. Its burdens are real, its future uncertain, but its spirit remains unbroken. Returning to Napoleon's words, perhaps he was right. If the world were a single country, Istanbul would be its capital, not because of its power or its wealth, but because it contains the whole of the human experience. It is a city of glorious contradictions, a place that teaches us that resilience is not the absence of hardship, but the grace and strength to endure it. The only way to truly understand it is to walk its streets, to breathe its air, and to feel the pulse of the world's most beautifully complex and enduring heart.